you it's almost over. We have discussed the stories, San Diego State, obviously Florida Atlantic, with what we have as well in the Final Four with what UConn's done, and then Miami with their comeback yesterday. Mark Zeigler, San Diego Union-Tribune, covers San Diego State. Everything San Diego, joins us on 365 Sports. Mark, can you kind of explain this run that San Diego State is on, and how much has it caught the attention of the city of San Diego?
Oh yeah. I mean, they got back last night, and there were people waiting for them on campus at 1 a.m.
That's awesome.
Which normally doesn't happen in this city. I want to tell you. I mean, I'm looking out, my view over the bay towards the ocean right now, and it's 70 degrees and not a cloud in the sky, and there's a lot to do here. But what's amazing to me is I've been here for years and years, and it was not a basketball town. High school basketball was bad. College basketball was terrible. And Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher have transformed it into a basketball town. I mean, it is bigger than hard as this to believe. I'm talking to somebody in Texas, but the basketball here is bigger than football. And it has been for a number of years, and they just sort of been waiting for this moment.
And they've done it, Mark, without, they don't have a lot of guys who are prolific, right? They don't have a standout superstar. I know Matt Bradley's their leading scorer, but this is just a ridiculously balanced team that knows how to ride the hot hand and maneuver through games. Yeah,
I mean, they're not everybody's prolific, and they're not everybody who's a pro either. I mean, they have some guys who play pro in Europe, but they don't have any NBA players in this team. I really don't think so. Maybe a guy surprises us, but I doubt it. And the bench goes 9 deep, and the bench also is all juniors and seniors and fifth-year seniors and one sixth-year senior. And one thing about this team that, people talk about, they had a really good team in 2019, 2020. Malachi Flynn, Yanni Wetzel, KJ Fagan, really good. Matt Mitchell, Jordan Shackle has been in the NBA a little bit. Some really good players on that team. They would have been a 2 seed probably. And, a lot of people thought they were a Final Four type team. They never got to play because the tournament was canceled. And there's been a lot of talk about let's do it for those guys. And it's too bad, opportunity lost. But in a weird way, that the pandemic kind of fueled this team, because you got 4 guys who are in their COVID years and stuck around in the program to play one more year. And that kind of experience and bigger body, real men type thing has really been the difference for them.
So getting here is uncharted territory, and it's been a wild ride, but take us into this latest leg. I mean, it's hard because you beat the number 1 team overall, and then you got to turn around and play 2 days later, but kind of now having a chance to breathe a little bit. Take us through these last couple of games. I mean, getting that huge win over the number 1 Crimson Tide, and doing so, not with ease, but doing so convincingly, and then to turn around and win a nail-biter against Creighton. Just what were the last what was this past weekend like?
Well, you have to go back to the previous weekend when they were in Orlando in their first game. They played Charleston, and they hadn't won NCAA tournament games since 2015. Obviously, it didn't go in 2020, but everyone sort of forgets that. And fans started to whisper, well, let's see, Brian Dutcher's been here, he'd been here 5 years before this, and he hadn't won a tournament game. Well, okay, he can't win the big one. And the players started to feel that too, because no one on the team had won an NCAA tournament game. And so they were really nervous in that first game, played terrible in the first half, 11 turnovers. And they came out in the second half and kind of gritted it out, made a couple big shots late. And then they got the next game against Furman, and they just were a completely different team, just loose and free and relaxed, having fun. And they carried that into this weekend. They were in Alabama and just sort of said, you know what, we're confident. We're just going to take our best swing, and they landed it. And then they came to Creighton, and there was extra motivation there because last year, as you might remember, in Fort Worth, they played Creighton in the first round. We're up 9 with 2.5 minutes to go in regulation, blew the lead, and it wasn't like Creighton beat them. I mean, they turned it over 4 times. They missed a free throw with 7 seconds left in the tie game by Matt Bradley, lost in overtime. And that haunted them the entire summer and the entire season. They went to Maui, and Creighton was in the field there. They were hoping they were going to get Creighton there. They never got them on the crossover day. And they were just kind of like, well, we're never going to play them again. And all of a sudden, here they are in the NCAA tournament in front of them. They were not losing that game yesterday. They were not going to blow it late, even though they kind of tried there a little bit. but that was a big deal. And that extra piece of motivation, I think that was a factor.
When did their hearts come out of their throats? I mean, to win a game, especially the way they did on a foul late, and then, that long pass at the end, I would think that, it took a second for you to really come down and go, man, we're in the Final Four.
It really did. I mean, I'm sitting there, I've covered this team for 10 years. I was kind of numb. I'm like, holy crap, these guys are going to the Final Four. I mean, I saw grown men in the stands crying, and you have to understand how bad this program was 25 years ago. I mean, they won 4 games one year. Steve Fisher came in and he won 5 games his first year. They lost 17 straight conference games. Like I said, they hadn't been ranked, since the first time they were ever ranked was 2010. First time they ever won NCAA tournament game was 2011. And this thing went from nothing. They used to play in just a glorified high school gym on campus in front of a few hundred people. And Steve Fisher came in and slowly turned it around. They went to the tournament, and there was a few more years they were down, and they went to the tournament again. And then he finally struck it rich with Kawhi Leonard and that team. That probably was the best team in the country, lost to UConn in the Sweet 16, and UConn ended up winning it in 2011. But yeah, I mean, this has been a long time coming, and I think people were a cross between numb and just so elated and so happy they just broke down crying, and the players too. I mean, it was really incredible thing to see.
And just like everybody predicted, Mark, they're playing Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, right?
Yeah, who would that be in their bracket?
Yeah.
Golly.
What is it like, though, you talk about the excitement level, but there's very clearly another story going on with San Diego State right now, and that is the backdrop of the Pac-12 and the potential of realignment. We know that they're being looked at by the Pac-12 or even talking. We know the Big 12's at least sniffed around a little bit in years past, if not recently. Can you kind of take us into that whole part of the San Diego State story, and what's kind of the scuttlebutt? What's the feeling right now, especially in light of you talking about where this program was not that long ago to now? Here they are. They're in the Final Four. They have a legitimate shot to win a national title in a major sport, and there's also this perhaps golden invite that could be headed their way as well.
It's interesting. You look at a lot of the mid-majors that have made it into the Final Four in recent years, teams like George Mason, VCU, Wichita State, Loyola Chicago, Butler. All those teams have ended up in new conferences within a couple of years. It's kind of propelled them in a new conference. I don't know if that's going to be the impetus for San Diego State to get in the Pac-12. I don't think presidents are sitting around saying, "Hey, they beat Furman and they beat Creighton. Let's get them in our league." But it just puts them in a better light on a very high-profile stage. The problem for them is they're just kind of sitting around waiting for stuff to happen. They have no control over it. None. There's nothing they can do. They're just waiting for that phone call. And meanwhile, the Pac-12 keeps going on and on and on without a TV deal. And it's becoming really apparent that there is no TV deal. There is nothing good enough that they can present to presidents that they think will keep the league together. And I think every day that passes, that optimism that, 3 months ago, they're definitely going to the Pac-12, starts to dwindle a little bit. And, there's still some people really optimistic, and I think they might get an invite. I'm just not sure there's going to be a league around for them when they finally get that invite. And a week later, I think, 4 teams could be gone. And so it's kind of people, are really excited about this Final Four run. And on the backdrop, they're really nervous because they know if it doesn't happen now, it's probably never going to happen. And they're going to be stuck in the Mountain West forever. And they've been trying to get out of this league forever. So it's like I said, exciting, but really nervy, really anxious.
Yeah, and you're right, because it's kind of like, okay, you keep waiting for that phone call, and hopefully it happens for them. We remember back when the Big 12 lost, or at least the story that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving, and how they grabbed onto 4 very quickly. And there were also a couple of teams that might have been on the radar, and they didn't make it. At least they haven't made the cut yet, like in Memphis or even Boise State or a San Diego State. And man, that's just got to be like nerve-wracking and almost like just turmoil inside your stomach during what should be a great run right now with basketball.
Yeah, and there's so much money involved. I mean, you look at even just the Pac-12, if it's $30 million a year. I mean, San Diego State's getting $5 million out of the Mountain West, and that's like triple what they were getting before the last TV contract. And that's real money, and it can really change, the trajectory of your athletic programs. But San Diego State's always wanted to get into the Pac-12, and they're always looked down upon by the LA schools. And now that they're gone, look, they're still going to take an invitation to the Pac-12. It's not going to be the same because they've always wanted to play USC and UCLA, and those schools, they won't play them. UCLA is going to play them this year in football. I'm a little surprised by that. But basketball, they won't, they rarely play them. The last time they played them, San Diego State, they played them in an event that UCLA runs in Anaheim called the Wooden Classic, and brought San Diego State up, and San Diego State fans filled the building and then beat them. And that was kind of the end of that. But, I think they're just kind of waiting around and seeing what happens. But financially, they really need it. They've invested a lot. They have a new football stadium. They invested a lot in the basketball program. They play in the 12,000-seat arena on campus. They have their own practice facility, which is very nice, state-of-the-art. And they want to sort of take that next step. But to do that, they need to be in a power conference with power conference money.
That football stadium's glorious, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. And it's the right size. And, I think it would be a good fit in a lot of power conference leagues. But, again, I don't think San Diego moves the needle in terms of a TV deal. It's a weird market. It's the 8th largest city in the country. It's 3.3 million people in the actual county, but it's still UCLA and USC draw more fans, more eyeballs for TV, at least in football, than San Diego State does. And
Mark,
so
Go ahead.
That's sort of the issue here is that they don't move the needle enough for a TV network to say, yeah, we got to have them in our conference.
You mentioned earlier as you were looking out your window across or over the bay, and we hate you for even bringing up that picture.
I apologize for that. Hey, I've actually been away a couple of times, and my godson is a Baylor alum and a very proud Baylor alum.
Wow.
So much that he's a PhD student now at TCU, but he won't wear any TCU stuff. He still wears Baylor stuff. So that's how loyal he is to the school and the city.
Yeah, that's not a very good rivalry and not very friendly whatsoever. I hate the fact San Diego lost back in the day when they had Qualcomm or Jack Murphy Stadium. They had some great Super Bowls there. Love the city. We've been there for the bowl game. Baylor played in the Holiday Bowl. Beautiful, beautiful area, man. It is as nice a city, I think, as you could possibly be. And it's gorgeous and good for you for being able to cover things there.
Yeah, no, it's a great place to live. I love it. And, what you're talking about does take away from the passionate fan base, though, because there's so much to do. I mean, you can go to the beach, you can go for a run, you can be outside. It's hard to sort of generate that really, really passionate thing. But San Diego State basketball is the one, I think, team that's kind of bridged that because they win. The Padres haven't always won. Until they win a World Series, the fans are still going to be a little bit hesitant. They're getting there. But San Diego State always wins. They don't let you down. They win they've won 19 games for something like 17 straight seasons. It's an incredible run they've had, and now this is their fourth 30-win team they've had in the last 12 years. So they've really put it together, and the fans are super passionate about the basketball team.
Good luck this weekend in our state of Texas, in Houston. Thanks for your time, Mark. Great story with San Diego State and the Aztecs. Appreciate the insight.
I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.
You too, Mark Zeigler. That's some really good stuff.